I'm just really glad that I was finally allowed to leave the Church of Satan to upload neo-morbid content. It's good to be back. Sergeant Willis Boshears was a US serviceman based in the UK. He confessed to strangling a local woman named Jean Constable in the early hours on New Year's Day of 1961, but he claimed that he was asleep and only woke to realize what he had done. The following day, he disposed of the body in an isolated lane. Several days later, he was arrested and charged with murder. At his trial in February 1961, he pled not guilty on the basis of being asleep at the time he committed the offense and was acquitted. In 1987, Kenneth James Parks was a married 23-year-old man with a 5-month-old daughter. He had a very close relationship to his in-laws, with his 42-year-old mother-in-law Barbara Ann Woods referring to him as her gentle giant. The summer before the controversial events, he developed a gambling problem and fell into deep financial problems. To cover his losses, he took funds from his family savings and then began to embezzle at work. Eventually, in March 1987, his actions were discovered and was fired from his job. On May 20th, he went to his first Gamblers Anonymous meeting. He made plans to tell his grandmother the following Saturday and his in-laws on Sunday about his gambling problems and financial difficulties. In the early morning hours of May 24th, 1987, he reportedly got up from his bed, still asleep, drove roughly 23 kilometers to his in-laws' home, broke in, assaulted his father-in-law, Dennis Woods, and stabbed his mother-in-law to death. After all this, he managed to drive himself to the police station. And aside from a few isolated events, the next thing he could recall was being at the police station, asking for help, saying, "I think I've killed some people." His only defense that he was asleep during the entire incident and was not aware of what he was doing. Naturally, nobody believed it. Even sleep specialists were extremely skeptical. However, after careful investigation, the specialists could find no other explanation. His readings were highly irregular even for a parasomniac. This combined with the fact that there was no motive, that he was amazingly consistent in his stories for more than 7 interviews, despite repeated attempts of trying to lead him astray, that the timing of the offense fit perfectly with the proposed explanation, and that there's no way to fake EEG results. This led to a jury acquitting Parks of the murder of his mother-in-law and the attempted murder of his father-in-law. Scott Falater, a resident of Phoenix, Arizona, was accused of murdering his wife, Jarmila, by stabbing her 44 times on the night of January 16, 1997. According to an eyewitness, Falater was also seen holding his wife's head underwater. When he was tried, the prosecution claimed that after the murder had been committed, he changed his clothes, put the murder weapon in a Tupperware container, put the container in a trash bag with his boots and socks, and then stashed the bag in the spare tire well in the trunk of his car. Prosecutors testified that his actions were too complex to have been carried out while sleepwalking. In June 1999, Scott was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Antonio Nido, 58, a resident somewhere in Spain, murdered his wife and mother-in-law using an axe and a hammer on January 11, 2001. Antonio's daughter suffered a jaw fracture but was left alone after feigning death, and his son disarmed him after receiving a cut on the ear. He claimed to have been asleep during the attack and dreaming that he was defending himself against aggressive ostriches. However, his children stated that he had recognized them and had even told his son to not turn on the lights because their mother was sleeping. In 2007, Antonio, already under psychiatric treatment, was sentenced to 10 years internment in a psychiatric hospital in order to pay 171,000 euros as compensation to the victims. He also lost custody of his children and wasn't allowed to interact with or be with them within 500 meters. On October 30th, 2004, the body of 83-year-old Edward Lowe was found on his driveway in Manchester, England. His son Jules admitted that he caused his father's death, but did not remember committing the act. He had used automatism as his defense. He was found not guilty by reason of insanity and detained at Her Majesty's pleasure, that is, indefinitely in a secure hospital. He was released after 10 months. Brian Thomas, 59, who suffered from automatism and sleepwalking since he was a child, confessed to strangling his 57-year-old wife, Christine, in July 2008 in their camper van while on vacation. He called emergency services and was heard telling the operator, "What have I done? I've been trying to wake her. I think I've killed my wife. Oh my god. I thought someone had broken in. I was fighting with those boys. But it was Christine. I must have been dreaming or something. What have I done?" He claimed he had mistaken his wife for an intruder, waking up to find it was his wife. He was freed in 2009 by a judge who found him not guilty of murder. But there you go, guys. Those are a couple of people that both were acquitted and were put into jail. I think one of them had it worse, being live in prison, because they really didn't believe his sleepwalking claims. Let me know in the comment section below whether you think these details sound like someone who was sleepwalking, or if that's just a petty excuse, maybe a smart one at that as well, you know. For some people out there that still want to commit murder, you know, do this at your own fucking choice and don't blame me for any ideas you might get through these videos, alright? So if you enjoy list videos, please leave a like below. And as always, dear viewer, have sweet dreams. But don't sleepwalk. It's on you if you do crazy shit then.